Welcome to season 2 of the Dom's Dance Court
podcast.
Thank you for being our very first guest of season 2, Mrs. Hannah Sanchez.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here for the third time.
Third time? Actually, first time live.
Exactly. But they say like third time's the charm.
Oh, yeah.
Or a charm. I don't know how you say it, but...
You want to tell the people what happened the first 2 times?
Yeah. So we actually have filmed this podcast. This is now going to be the third time. The first time, we ran into a plethora of technical difficulties. You name it, we ran into it. But we actually ended up filming a podcast that day. And it turned out really well, but there was like lighting issues and it wasn't pleasing, I think, for the viewer. So we just decided to scrap it, which was really sad because I feel like that was such a good podcast.
Are you talking about the one in the park?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was right after we had come home from Mexico.
Right.
So it was like about our trip in Mexico. But that one didn't work. So we're like, okay, let's do another one. And then we went to the mountains and we did one in the mountains and then it starts raining midway through. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And that was so sad also because it was we had like such cool landscapes for the podcast and then it just didn't.
I remember we did it because it was in Mount Charleston.
Yes.
And it looked so nice. And do you remember how when we filmed it at the park, like the week before, we had noticed that our camera hadn't filmed like 30 minutes of it because it was in 12-minute increments. Like we didn't have the good SD card.
Yeah.
So it was in 12-minute increments.
It was terrible.
And then we planned everything accordingly. And then when we got to Mount Charleston, we had the SD card, everything was good and everything. And it started, and we were like, okay, we're setting a 24 or 30-minute timer. And we were like making sure, and it worked. Every 24 minutes, we had footage. And we stopped the timer every 24 minutes. Remember that? Because we had a better SD card now that was filming 24 minutes. But anyway, it still didn't work out because of the weather now. So it was just like, we're like, okay, it's just not meant to be right now.
It was such a thing. But we had told ourselves that when I got back to Spain, that I would film a podcast with him again because I enjoyed it so much and I wanted it to go live so other people could see it.
Yeah. And here we are, we're doing it now. I'm happy. Yeah. I was supposed to have another podcast today, one that I was invited on.
That
ended up not happening. So
yeah, this is also super last minute.
Yeah, I like
just the spur of the moment type of thing.
Yeah, I remember every time we tried to plan it, we never made it work. And for once, it goes to show you, well, what's the lesson here then? Don't plan.
Yeah.
I guess, but this is not your first podcast appearance, huh? In general, and besides this podcast,
no,
you've been on others.
Yeah, I've been on Carolina's. My best friend, she has a podcast.
What's it called?
I'll plug her here.
Please do.
Overheard with Carolina, great podcast.
What is it about? What
super silly. My episode with her was super silly. She's my childhood best friend, so I've known her since I was in the 4th grade. I was 10 years old. We're like sisters, and I went on there and we just like, I don't know. We talk half of the episode about how much we love each other, and then the other half is just like silly, fun, like girly. So if you're into that,
yeah, I like that. And her overall podcast, what's her theme?
Honestly, I think she's like a self-help big sister kind of like podcast. I'm not exactly sure where to classify her. But she's so funny, she's charismatic, she's silly, she's serious, she's like everything. Honestly, it's an incredible podcast. I love listening to the episodes when they come out. So I'm also partial, but
sounds good. So maybe we'll plug it in the description for the viewers.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we were saying it's not your first podcast episode. You've been able to already talk in front, and I feel like you're pretty comfortable in front of the mic from when I gathered from those 2 episodes and what I see here with me so far. Yeah. I feel like you're not. I don't know. I like it. Do you sense that for yourself?
Yeah, I do. I was really nervous in the beginning, like
with Carolina.
Well, yeah, actually I was, but also on your podcast, because yours was technically the first one that I filmed, but it never came out. So I was really nervous then, but now I feel like it's not so bad. I cannot take Molly seriously with
her little thingy on it.
Yes.
We went to pick up Molly today back after we've not seen Molly for like a good month.
Yeah, Molly's been
And-
on a staycation in a finca.
in the finca. And she came back, and then we showered her this morning.
Yeah, and
Not us specifically, but we showered her at
we
the.
took her to a groomer, and the groomer put jewels all on her forehead, and
And she looks so cute.
she does look cute.
Yeah, but she did get a little fatter. You're right. You can tell. But she's like your sister. She also loves the podcast love, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's on every podcast.
I feel like she had more of them before. No.
Yeah, she did. I don't know where they went.
It came out.
Yeah, it's okay.
Molly. But anyway, so now you've been in Spain for over a month, and you're getting accustomed to the culture, getting accustomed to the people, the energy, the way of life here in Spain. What's one of your favorite things about Spain, Hannah?
We were actually just talking about this yesterday.
were.
We were walking around the city yesterday, and we had a lovely walk, by the way. I loved it. We already talked about it, but I loved it. It was so nice. We found an English bookstore.
Which is very rare here in Spain.
Yeah, I picked up a few. It's the only English store in Spain.
Yeah, in Spain, well, in the city.
Bookstore, sorry.
In the city in Spain.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in the whole of Spain.
Yeah, I guess you're
Yeah,
right.
hey.
And yeah, we got a book. I got a book there, and it was super nice. We were along the walk, and Julian honestly, my honest answer about Spain is always going to be about the jamón. Like, that really is where my heart lies here. And you told me specifically when we were talking, and you asked me, what's your favorite part about Spain? And you were like, but don't mention the food. But I said something kind of related
It
to
worked.
it.
I feel like your answer worked. It
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily about the food. It was about the way of living around
food.
food. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly my answer. Is I really love how the Spanish people don't take food for granted. Like, it's such a beautiful ritual that happens every single day. You see it on the streets. You see it on people's balconies, on our balcony. Like, we eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If we're not at a restaurant, outside with other people doing the same thing, we're on the balcony all together. You never eat alone. It's a very social thing. And growing up the way I did in the United States, like, that really wasn't, we had like family dinners, but in my household every so often, like, it wasn't ever like
Even
super.
when I'm visiting you in the U.S., I feel like it's so. I remember the first time visiting you, I was like, it's so weird. Why are we never eating together? I remember every time. Do you remember me asking you, like, this is now ages ago, so I don't know if you remember, but getting there, and I remember one of the first dinners. I thought it was my first night. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I've ever told you this. I think I was like, it was my first night with your family. I'm thinking, oh, we're definitely gonna be having a welcome dinner for me. Not a welcome dinner for me, but like all gonna be sitting together on the dining room table, and we're all gonna eat together. And then I guess we just went to In-N-Out, you and I. And
Oh, did we?
It was great. Like,
I
it
was
was
like,
my
you're gonna
first
make me sound so bad. I thought you were gonna be like,
I mean, is it true?
that we did. Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah, that's more.
And then I realized we never did dinners like that in the U.S. Like, there was almost
Yeah.
never a chance. Like, everybody was eating at their own schedule. I understood that your siblings also had their own routines, and they all had school the
Yeah.
next day super early, so they went to bed super early. Everybody, Grace was working, grandparents had their own routines. Everybody had their vibe. So I understand why it didn't happen. But I thought it was funny how I got you, like, you see here how we revolve. I think maybe it's a little bit too much. We like revolve our entire days and plans around our meal. Like, what did we just do before the podcast? We just called mom and the whole family to see the next 3 days. Where are we eating? What are we eating? When are we eating? And with who?
Literally, we just had a conversation with his mom about the next 3 days, which is so crazy. Yeah.
About meals the next 3
Yeah,
days.
specifically meals. Yeah, it's so crazy. And I think me taking you to In-N-Out is like America in a nutshell, or like the West Coast of America in a
and I
nutshell.
had never had it, so.
Yeah, that's so true. And so I took you there. I feel like you needed to be like greeted with that. And
Actually, false. I have had it. Sorry. I was just looking about the
that's
fact
right.
checkers who are listening. Like, Saad was going to be like, you had it in Phoenix, just when I met you. So I still had it, but
Chad.
yeah.
Yeah, that is true. But properly, I wanted you to get like the proper experience. But yeah, and I really do love that about Spain. Like, I think it's so different. It took some getting used to on my end, as I'm sure it did with you when you came to visit me in Vegas. It's like it's just a different way of living in life, and everything is like go 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 in the US. No, in the US, like I feel here, your family specifically, yes, but the lifestyle in Spain, no. Like,
Okay, good
you
point.
will find time with every single person to have a meal together. Like you will literally base your entire days around meals, like who you're going to eat with that day, where you're going, what you're doing with that in regards to food. In the US it's just not like that. It's like very casual, and if you want to go out to lunch with a friend every so often, you like go or like grab a coffee or but you basically just go through drive-throughs. Like even when you get coffee, you go through a drive-through. As you know,
it's like
that's gross.
you end up getting no steps. You end up getting no sunshine. Like I don't know if it's no wonder that, I mean, I don't know half my facts, but I know that the biggest mental health crises are in the US, right? And then also obesity and lifestyle in general is poor. But I wonder, I mean, I'm sure that the culture doesn't help. Which is what I noticed when I was there, for example. The big difference I spot here, that I'm sure you spot too, is here it's effortless to get your steps. Like if you really didn't have to, just by living a normal life, you would. And that just helps you lose weight and get a more active lifestyle, get sunshine, etc. In the US, remember, we have to purposely plan our days to go to the park. And we have to be way more intentional, which just makes it much harder, which is perhaps why the mental health crisis is so high and why people have obesity, because it's much harder. Already, even here in Spain, people who have mental health issues, you can tell them be intentional, but like it's already easier to be intentional here.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is so tough about the US. What did you say?
It is. I just agreed with you. Like
You disagreed?
no, I agree.
Oh.
I agree.
I disagreed with you. I was like,
no, I agree with you. I think like, I don't know. Yeah, like people are generally, I mean, we just had this conversation also with your mom about, she was just in Miami, his mom, and she was like, we were just making comments about the difference in culture and stuff. And she's like, wow, people are so much bigger in the US and people are so much this and that. Yeah. And it's like so obvious. And yeah, it's because lifestyle differences. Like you don't walk in the United States. In my town specifically, like you have to go find it. Like you have to take your car and go find where to walk. Like you can't just easily walk around just as you want, or like to go walk to the grocery store and get your groceries. Like it's just not a thing as it is here. Yeah. And
there are some benefits to that though. Like I feel like when I didn't have the car, or I think even in Montreal, when I used to live in Montreal, it's a city where getting the steps in was also effortless.
Yeah.
But we walked to the grocery store, remember?
Yeah.
It wasn't the best. Like that's one good thing about having the car, for example, in the US, is that you're always going to be able to, for groceries at least specifically I'm talking about. But do you remember? Like also when it's so cold.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, that was also the fact that you're like, it was sitting on a hill.
The grocery store.
Yeah, the grocery store. So you'd like be hiking.
And then when it was so icy.
And then you would slide down Oh my God. It is terrible.
That's so crazy. I remember that. I was like, at least here we have a little bit the best of both. Like we can take the car if we need to for the groceries, and you can also walk everywhere. Like even you yesterday, you were able to do like 15,000 steps.
Oh my God.
Just because you had to walk places.
Yes.
But not, again, you didn't walk because you wanted to walk. You had to get somewhere, so you walked to get somewhere.
Yeah, I had to get there.
And you're doing exercise by doing it. But I guess what can we recommend for the US people? Like I would just say it's like what we were doing for the 3 months we were there, of making intentional time in your day. We were planning our days around it.
Yeah, we were also. Yeah, we would make a point to go to a park right next to my house, and the park is super nice, super walkable. But even then, like it's such a small. If you think about it, it really is so small. Like it feels big while you're in it.
We did the same walk over and over.
I know. Like yeah, that's true. You get bored of it and whatever.
But at the end of the day, like if you're doing like I kind of separate them into like aimless walks, or aimless is not the word, directionless walks, and like commutes.
Purposeful.
Yeah, exactly. Like us going around yesterday, coffee shops, lunch.
Yeah, we're just
everything. We're there. We're going with a direction, right? But we had a direction in mind. It wasn't just a sporty walk. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas in the US, in the parks, it was fully no directional. Like we were just walking to walk.
To get exercise.
There you go. So I'm saying that if you're going to, like, as much as it's the same thing and it's the same round over and over and over, which you were saying, you can make it a little less boring with, I guess, either going with a partner, like I was going with you, and walking with a friend or somebody.
Podcast. That's what I would recommend.
Right, listening, you mean, right?
Yeah, listening to them, because you don't have to use your hands. Like,
That's what I was doing, remember?
Yeah, you were doing.
I had so many resources to consume that time because of the coaching program I started.
Yeah,
so I was doing them on the walks.
I know. I love to listen to podcasts and walk like that. I'll do that here sometimes too.
Are you?
I had like yesterday when I had walked all the way to your mom's house, I had a podcast in my ears,
Nice.
and it makes the time go by so much
Are
faster.
you always listening to stuff when you're walking here in the
Me,
city?
I'm listening to stuff all the
You
time.
think so?
Me specifically,
But have
you know
not,
that.
no, but have you not noticed a difference? Because I was like that, but I've noticed a difference here now that because there's so much happening in the city that I'd somehow like to stay alert, or I don't know.
Occasionally, I will. It's easier to not listen, like, because there's stuff happening and you're like so intrigued by the squirrel in the tree and like I like watching people also when I'm walking, like people watching. I like to do that. So, but you could also do that with the podcast in your ears. But I just like to listen to them all the time. Like you see me when I'm like folding laundry, doing makeup, cooking. Like I'm constantly listening to something. There's always something in my ears.
And you made a good point also. You said it's easier to not have to listen to stuff here because also like it's easier for your mind. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's so interesting because I feel like when you're in nature, like you would in the US, let's say we're walking in, natural parks, just parks, and there's less people. There's way less of a ruckus, if you will. Is that the right word?
Ruckus.
Ruckus?
Yeah,
Is that the right
I
word?
like that word.
Yeah. I was trying to think of one. If there's less of that, then I feel like it's easier for your mind to wander and get like more thoughts, more ideas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But here, I find it so much hard. I also find it just as easy to also get ideas and stuff because so much is happening around you that you get access to different things. It happened to me. You're saying about listening to conversations or seeing people watching or whatever. It's happened to me where accidentally I hear something they said and that jogs an idea for then I can then use for something. How crazy is that?
Yeah, it's nice.
It's cool.
Super nice.
Yeah. So you're liking the lifestyle here more than there for now?
Yeah, I think so. It's so different. Like, it's like apples to oranges, really. Like, you really cannot, I don't know. To me, it's like one or the other.
Yeah,
right now,
so polar opposite,
right now, though, currently, I really do love the Spanish lifestyle.
Like seasons, right?
Yeah.
Is what I was thinking. Because I feel like in the US, I'm thinking if we were in your area during the summer months instead of being here, I don't think we would have been able to spend much time outside. It would have been too hot.
No, you don't. Especially where I'm from. No, it's impossible. I mean, you go to the pool and you swim.
Yeah.
And then that's when you go to indoor gyms and you run on the treadmill. Like you have to like acclimate. Yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah, you don't do anything. But that's in general, like all the time, even in winter, in fall too. Like when I was a kid, I used to walk around more or like play outside more, so I feel like it was different. But as an adult, you obviously do not play outside.
Yeah.
I used to ride bikes too. That's also something you could do there, but
we can do that here.
yeah, that's true.
That's what I'm saying. I think at the end of the day, it's like you said, it's so polar opposite that maybe being able to get a little bit of both, depending on the season of the year, works.
They're good for different reasons, I find. Like
Agreed.
in every way. Like there's some things in Spain or Europe that are so much better than, and then other things where the US trumps in that. Like
Sure.
I don't know. I'm thinking recently I'm going through a crisis because I'm trying to I don't know. I've been on my health journey for a while now. I think it's been since I was like 20-ish years old, more serious in the last like 2-3 years, kind of since I've known you. I'm fully gluten-free now, and it's just added like a bunch of obstacles that I have to face with food and challenges and whatnot. But in Spain, it's so okay. I don't know. I want to explain this as easily as I can. In Spain, for like gluten-free options, it's so easy. For some reason, it's everywhere and it's incredible. I think it's like a fad here, or like it's something here, or I don't know if a lot of people are celiacs here or something. I'm not so sure, but it's so easily accessible and I'm so grateful for that. But when you go into deeper stuff, like, I don't know, I was looking for gelatin, but like specifically beef gelatin to make like gummies and stuff, because I'm super into gut health and like healing the gut, and that's what we're trying to do right now with Julian and all this stuff. And to find you tell them, like, to find the gelatin it was impossible. I had to go online and buy from this website, and it definitely cost like double or triple the price, but I'm very like committed to it, so I obviously did it. But in the US, that stuff is so accessible. I go on Amazon and it's at my door the next day, if not the same day. like it's very, so there's certain things that
Yeah.
are like, I don't know.
So interesting.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
So, but I'm surprised by how much gluten-free stuff is here. Like, I didn't think that we'd be able
It's
to find.
amazing. They have if anybody watching is gluten-free, every restaurant here has a brand, and it's, what is it called? It's like, it's the one they give me in the package.
Oh, I don't remember the brand name though.
I think it literally, best gluten-free. It literally is, the brand is best gluten-free, or like best
And
bread.
it's the same one that
or
all the
something.
restaurants
Yes, they
use?
do it everywhere.
Yeah,
Like,
I haven't noticed.
you haven't noticed that? Every single
I haven't read the package. I don't know why.
every single place, it's like they hand you the bread in a sleeve, and it has like black lettering. You haven't noticed
Yeah,
that?
I have noticed it. It's always the same bread. I've just never noticed
The brand of it.
Yeah.
Anybody who's gluten-free, if you can find that, or like about it, I think it's really good. Like, compared to most gluten-free breads, like, it can be really challenging to find. Honestly, for the past year and a half since I've been gluten-free, I've kind of just like given up on bread. I've been like, you know what? I'll live without it. It's not that big of a deal. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I really want bread again. Like,
I've been finding good alternatives.
exactly, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So, finding that has been incredible, or like knowing that that's accessible and I know I can get it anywhere is great, because for the longest time I just couldn't.
But I love talking about commitment, and I feel like that's a pretty cool thing that you've at least showed us and just people in general, is like how, like, tell me how simple and does it make your life? Like, whenever you go to a restaurant, whenever you have to purchase any food, how simple does it make it for you?
Yeah, so being gluten-free definitely just like eliminates there's a term for it, and I think you know
Choice
it.
overload.
Yes, like I only
Or
have
decision fatigue.
decision fatigue. Exactly.
I love how you still said yes to choice overload.
Yeah,
Thank you
same
for not
thing.
contradicting me in public.
Same thing though, no? Like, I guess it means
Yeah,
like the
I
same.
think so, yeah.
I don't know. When you go into a restaurant, I don't even want to say it's on one hand the amount of time, like 2 or 3 times maybe, where there's been a bunch of options and I've been like, wow, this is fantastic. Like, I could literally pick anything I want here and eat it. That's so few and far
Yeah.
between.
Like take yesterday, the restaurant yesterday, there was legit one choice.
Yes, like we went to a restaurant yesterday and I was forced to literally have, well, there were 2 things.
Oh, right.
Yeah, 2 things only on the entire menu, and they were like, it was a chia pudding,
And
which I love, so I wasn't mad at it. And then like a
the summer salad, right?
summer salad, like with like rice
super good.
noodles, which was also super good.
Yeah.
But there have been times where I go and it's like you have to get like an egg, or like something like crazy,
Yeah.
which is easy, I guess, at the end of the day. Like, I don't have to decide anything. If there's 2 choices there only for me, either I get both of them or I just choose one. Like, it's really not that big of a deal anymore, versus before I was like, oh my gosh, I want this, I want that, I want.
That's me.
I know, it's what
so-
you suffer
But
from.
even now, because I'm trying to lower my, for example, meat intake, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy how much easier it is to choose. Like, I've noticed, and that's why I'm thinking, like, yes, we're not talking here. Like, people are thinking, oh, why are they talking so much about food on the menus? Like, it's an analogy for a much bigger part of life, and it just makes sense that in everything in life, when you've made a decision and you're committed to it, whether it's meeting with someone, having a dentist appointment, having a anything, right? Give me more things. What else? Going to the gym,
Yeah, going to the gym,
having a yoga class,
meeting a
scheduled in,
friend,
yeah,
anything.
Well, the decision is already made, so it's so simple. All you have to do is show up at the time you said you were going to show up. End of story. But as you and I both know, people complicate it. People don't show up. People always have excuses. They always have reasons. They never have stuff to show up for. And yes, don't get me wrong, unprecedented circumstances happen. We both know it. Shit happens. Sometimes you're sick, you have stuff, and whenever you're not going to show up, tell them you're not going to show up. But just to go back to the food stuff, I feel like it's such a good analogy because we all relate to it, that you go to a restaurant and if you can eat everything, what's so funny? What's so funny? I'm getting too passionate.
You throwing shade?
Yeah, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
No, it's good.
No, I really do
Right.
believe shit happens, and I'm okay with shit happening. Just make sure to communicate it
Yeah,
whenever you know.
Of course.
Whenever you know it. Sometimes you don't know it till the minute you had decided to schedule. But I just think it's such a good example of the power of commitment, especially here with all these allergies. We know the amount of vegetarians, the amount of pescatarian, the amount of people who
Yeah,
are
people give so much shit to like vegans and vegetarians and this and that, but it's like,
that they're able to commit.
yeah, it's like, you know what? They're not bothering you, and like it makes it easy for them at the end of the day.
They have a much
So,
simpler life. Like,
yeah.
and it's what I'm saying. At the end, the commitment really equals freedom. Like it's really that simple. That's honestly the biggest thing for me that I never think I realized before. You know, I mean, you know me. I used to be so late to so many things, which also just
Yeah.
adds so much stress to your
I
life.
know, you guys, like Julian, when I had first met you, until like I think the first year, really.
I'm still
You're
not 100%.
still,
now.
yeah, you're still,
I'm much better, I must say.
yeah, no, it's like a world of change. Like honestly, I have to give.
Ask me what the secret ingredient is.
What is it? What's the
Commitment.
what's the secret ingredient?
Commitment. No, and want it to be my word, and actually want it to be my word.
Yeah, he really suffered from. My God, like you would tell. I used to call it Julian time. Like I would tell it. I would say it in my head. Like, okay, Julian says that he's done with this at this time, and he says it's going to take this amount of time to get here. I would add, I'm not kidding, like an hour to whatever you were saying, because you were so bad with timing, and you changing to wanting, you know, to honor your word and your commitment and doing all of this stuff has really changed you for the better in that way. Like you're so different now. Now I can actually rely on you. Like, or I can give you at least right now like a 15-minute grace period or a 10-minute grace period. I'm like, okay, if he says he's going to be here at 1:30, I can expect him at like 1:45 to.
Which is still what I don't love, but I know it's already much better than before because you're not the only one. Like my friends have said this.
Oh, it was bad. It was
my
really
whole
bad.
family, everybody knew it, which is, again, and because I've done it for so long, I created that image of myself for so long, so people started seeing me that way.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I've just recently now, or less than a year, it's been maybe the past 6 months, not even, maybe the past 3 months, that I've really actively chosen to be my word. It's going to take more than just 3 months to really acclimate that and make that my new acclimate. It's going to take more than 3 months to solidify and make that my actual new image.
Yeah.
Excuse me, right?
Yeah.
So I know it. That's why I'm okay. I agree with what you're saying. Like I still, sometimes I am late. Like I don't know where I was yesterday. I told Jamie I'm meeting him at the gym at 3:30 and I got there at 3:37. And I was just so upset because it was all, and we were walking back. Remember, and I chose to take a longer route because I wanted to see that cafe that I thought about. It just ends up, and somebody once told me, because I was late also, like maybe two months ago, I was late by like 10 minutes. Like you're saying, I'm much better than before, but I was late by 10 minutes. And the guy tells me, I'm meeting with a good friend of mine. He's like, what did he say? Oh, he's like, you just try. My dad always told me, Julian, that when you're late, you're trying to tell the other person, the message you're sending to the other person is that your time is more important than mine or than theirs. And I realized that with Jamie, I was like, why am I late? And I asked myself literally the question, why was I late? Well, I chose when we were walking with Hannah earlier that I wanted to take a detour that was going to be 5 minutes longer just so I could see a coffee shop that I wanted to see. I thought it was more important for me to do that now.
Yeah.
And I didn't end up being late. Same with like, you know, so I'm noticing, and it's so cool having that exercise with myself because every time I notice why am I late, it always goes back to I always had to do something that was more important for me.
Yeah.
Which is a thin line. You want to do stuff for yourself, but that's why you plan accordingly. That's why you plan your days. That's why you do everything. But I like what you're saying, that I'm happy that it's already gone down to at least, like you said, a 15-minute grace period. And you'll see it. And I can guarantee you that by the end of the year, if not sooner, but by the end of the year, my goal is to reduce that to a 0 time. That when I say I'm going to be there at 1:30, you can count on me being there at 1:30.
I believe it, or even earlier.
Oh, I will.
That's the goal, I think.
That is the goal. You're so right.
It's not being there on time. It's being there like 10, 15 minutes earlier.
Well, but I mean, I feel like because I'm really good at that with like all my client meetings. Like I've given shit to one of my clients before. I was like, you were 4 minutes late. And after I told him that and I explained it to him, it's not about me. I remember telling him, like, if you're late here with me, then God knows, are you late on your own clients? Are you late on your own family, on your own partner, on your own kids? Like, I don't like, it's not, and I remember saying that to him that he was never late again.
Yeah.
And I'm never late with them, but I think it doesn't make sense for me to only not be late with them. I need to not be late, like, right?
Yeah, like preach it there and then not practice it. I swear.
You have to preach it everywhere. It's like one of...
No, you have to practice it everywhere.
Oh, sorry. Right. Thank you. Hannah's my voice of correction. I love it. It's like, no, but it's true. But it's like Jamie's favorite quote is, or one of Jamie's favorite quotes is, who you're being in one area is who you're being everywhere.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, we also talked about this last night in the car. Like you can't be, or like, you know, you look at somebody in a certain situation and they say something about something and they say they're only this way with this in this circumstance in this place, but no, you're actually like that in a lot of places, you know, like every place. You can't just like, I don't know, turn part of yourself off. Like you're still that person.
Yeah. Which is why we spoke about it at dinner last night as well when they were talking about how in the US, I think it was in the US she was saying,
Yeah.
mom's friend, that like there's a big divide between like professional and personal life. And I was disagreeing, I was disagreeing in that like, I don't know if it's the correct way, just because like you just said, it's a part of you that it just amplifies. I think that's the mistake I've seen. Again, I have limited corporate experience, but what I've seen from things in the corporate world, and I'm also, the book I just finished was all about teams and teams in the corporate world, you know, as this guy who coached Google, Apple, all the biggest companies in the world. And he was talking about how at the end of the day, the thing that made him such a good coach for Steve Jobs and for all the CEOs at Google and stuff was his ability to intersect personal and professional life. And like what you're saying right now is that there is that piece of you in the personal life, who you are at home, or in the other way. Like I see with my clients, they're so professionally fulfilled, and what's the word I'm looking for? Professionally,
fulfilled.
but also so correct. You know, at work they do all their tasks on time. They're very like, top of their game.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to their own personal fulfillment and personal own self development, nothing. They don't honor their commitments. They don't show up. And what I'm trying to show them is that if you can be that way at work, and you can show up on time at work, you can do your tasks, your deadlines at work, then what's stopping you from doing that at home?
Yeah, nothing. There's nothing stopping you. But yeah, that is how it is for a lot of people, especially in the corporate world and people of that nature. Like your job is everything to you. You put everything into that job that it kind of leaves you no room for anything else. Like it literally depletes you of all of your life force and your energy. And then where do you have? Like where, like you've spent all of your, like if you look at it as like a currency, like you've spent all of your energy bills there. You don't have anything else left to give anywhere else. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think work-life balance is super, super important. And like knowing how to like intermesh the two and like understand your energy and your capabilities in both places. And that's why maybe your clients who, you know, put everything into their work and they're top of their game, they're the best at whatever they're doing, they don't have time for their children or whatever it is, you know, they don't have time, or even their self-development, like you're saying, like you're literally helping these people with that. And I guess that's why people like you are here to help people, because it is hard, like, you know.
And that's what it's yeah, you hit the nail on the head with everything you said. It's so true. It's that I see how complicated it is, but even from our own personal experience, like we see how, even take me, as I work and I focus on my work so much because I know it's going to help me, then I notice that, let's say an hour away from there, let's say I decide to spend an extra hour on work than I had planned to, that's an hour less that I could have spent walking with you, or going to the gym, doing an extra Pilates, or going to bed a little earlier, eating earlier. All things that end up affecting then how I show up to work the next day. So it's all connected. It all feeds into it. Yeah. It's so interesting. I feel like I'm learning so much about myself and like in that. Do you feel like that like a similar sentiment from that perspective?
Like in my life?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I don't know. I've been pretty good about certain things, like routines and stuff, and knowing, you know, that I want to do this day for, you know, leading into the next day, so that this doesn't, it's like looking out for yourself in a way. Like every, you know, your past self is going to look out for your future self, like every single time, good or bad. So I try to be the best, but, you know, some things get the worst of me. You know, I'm human, like everybody's human. It happens, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I find it such an interesting topic. I never thought I'd be. Did you ever think I'd be so interested in self-development since you met me? Because I feel like when you met me, I was like, I did not.
Yeah, you were at a very different point in your life. And I guess, no, I couldn't have anticipated. I didn't know what you were going to do. I knew you were interested in psychology because you were you were studying that in school. And so I knew that you were interested in that. And we always had really complex like conversations ever since the first minute that I met you, you know? So I knew you had it in you. I just didn't know what you were going to do with it. But I guess I could have seen it coming. You're very philosophical and like, you know, you like that type of stuff. So I don't think it's so much of a surprise. I don't think it's so much of a surprise for anybody to see you the way you are. Like, you're Julian. Like, everybody knows you so well. You know, maybe it is a little bit of a shock, but you're so firm, like in your beliefs, in the way you are. Like, you're never going to change for anybody. You're like authentically yourself in every situation. I've not seen you change. Like, one thing about you is that you're the same in every situation, just like we were talking about. Like, you really are. Like, you never change. You're Julian through and through. Like, everybody knows Julian. And that's just, you know, that's what it is. Like, and it's a good thing.
Okay. That's enough because people are going to think I asked you this question to like promote me. And it's not what I meant. But thank you.
I'm also in love with you.
Yes,
so I am his girlfriend, by the way.
we didn't
By the way.
we didn't just in case you didn't notice. Yeah, we're talking all about all these family dinners and everything that we do, but yeah, we're just really good friends.
Yeah.
But I was like, we also are very good friends. But what was I going to ask you? I was going to ask you a question about this. Oh, you also studied psychology, right? So do you feel like that's kind of the reason why we also are able to have these conversations, because it's also a big part of your interests?
Yeah, I think so. I think anybody who studies psychology has some interest in like how the human brain works, how powerful the mind is, and you know, all of these things.
And you even have a deeper understanding of it through this other curiosity that fuels your life, right?
Yeah, I do. Wow, nice segue.
Thank you.
I was actually going into that. My curiosities more lie in the astrological form of things. Like, I do believe in psychology wholeheartedly. I mean, it's literally a science, but I also have a big belief, and one of my biggest belief system I think ever is my belief in astrology.
Please define that for those at a 5th grade level. Define astrology. Can you?
Oh my gosh, I've never been asked this question before. You're putting me on the spot.
Challenge. Here at the Doms Dance Court podcast, we love to challenge you.
Yeah, you really do. Okay. I think astrology at a 5th grade level is the study of
the study of
the stars and the planets in the sky, all connected together, making connections on the day and the time and the place that you were born. I think
nicely said.
But I don't
define.
No, I'm sure anybody who really I'm sure that was terrible,
No,
but
I thought it was because it is such an abstract concept.
yeah, it really is. Like, it's hard to, and especially honestly, it's one of those things that gets such a bad rep because it's so, you know, people think of astrology and they think of horoscopes and they think of the things in the magazines, and it's like,
what's the difference?
If you're a Leo and you were born from here to here, here's your weekly horoscope, and it's like such a broad, like, it's like you're gonna be so happy and you're gonna eat food and you're gonna go to the bathroom. Like, it's like everybody relates to it, you know? So people look at it and they're like, oh, this is bullshit. They literally think it's not true, and I get it. But once you get into the deeper study of astrology and you understand that you have, first of all, it's not just your sun sign. Like, you're not just an Aries. You're not just a Libra. You have so many planets in your birth chart, and they're all connected, and they all make connections together in all different types of ways, and they all mean something different. And so for each person, it's going to be completely different, you know? So that's why not all Libras are the same. Not all Scorpios are the same. You know, that's like, I think people put such a vague, like, description on everything and everybody, and they're like, oh, I don't believe in astrology because my grandma is a Scorpio and my boyfriend's a Scorpio, and they're nothing alike. Like, no shit, they're nothing alike.
Yeah, they have so much other shit
like,
going on.
like, it's like, I don't know. It just, but to the people who have the interest in it, it's really fun to talk about with them. And like, I love studying it. That's like one of the first questions I ever asked Julian. Julian has a tattoo on his wrist, and it looks kind of like a Pisces sign. So one of the first questions I ever asked you, do you remember?
I do remember, yeah.
I was like, "Are you Pisces?" And I was scared. I was a little bit scared. And he's like, "No." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, because just to clarify, this tattoo is not a tattoo of Pisces.
No, it's not.
But we'll get into my tattoo stories another day. Firstly, continue what you were saying.
Yeah, that was one of the first questions I asked you, and it tends to come up a lot in my life. It's just something that I really love to study.
How did you get into it?
I was 13 years old, and as a young girl, my mom was really into astrology, and I remember having astrology books everywhere around the house, tarot cards, and she would take me to psychic shops and all this stuff, which is kind of like woo-woo. Like some people, they're probably like, oh.
That's some esoteric shit.
It's like a little bit crazy. I don't know. It's in some people's eyes, like they can view it as like something dark or something bad when it really isn't. Like it's just a practice and it's just a belief system. But yeah, so from then it was always like an interest. So we would have books lying around. And I remember for my 13th birthday, I was gifted an astrology book that was like this big from Carolina, my best friend's mom. And because I had expressed my interest in astrology to her and she was into it also. So she gifted me this book. I started reading it, got super into it, and I started making connections, and I make connections every single day. Literally every single day. I will like, something pings in my head and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to
notice it in your
yes,
mind.
and then I have to search up a chart, read it, and like I'm like, wow. And I make new connections.
That's what you do on your phone all the time.
Yeah.
Got you.
Honestly, if anybody went through my astrology charts, like you've been through it, it like scrolls on forever.
Yeah, the amount of people you've analyzed is wild.
Yeah.
But I feel like now you just showed me just a little parentheses, and I'll let you continue in a second. I think this is what's so powerful of being obsessed with a topic or a curiosity, because the way you just described that, what I heard in that for myself was the way I see with like whenever I explore mindset or anything related to like we're talking about self-development before, when I see things specifically about thoughts, the mind and how the mind really works and your thoughts really work, you were saying how something you read about in the chart or you learn about astrology like in this week, like you did last week, you were telling me last week's astrology, how crazy it was, and we can get into that, but how you can really start associating and seeing things like pinging, like you said, in your life, and how it's so cool how you can see everything through your filter now, or it's filtered through the lens of that curiosity, which is what's so
totally cool. Yeah, and ours are vastly different. Oh, a little bit similar, actually.
Yeah. I feel like every time you share with me stuff about astrology, I can see how it links so much to a lot of stuff that I'm into, but it's such a different way. Even the conversation we had last week with Nick,
yeah,
I feel like there was such an overlap between spirituality, mindfulness, mindsets, self-development, and astrology.
Yeah, they're all like interlinked.
Yeah, so you were saying, before I interrupted, you were saying how you're always, if anybody saw your chart, they would see like all the
yeah, so yeah, I like to just study people. Like I'll ask anybody, if obviously I'm not going to go up to anybody and just like, give me your chart, but if I'm like relatively close to you or we've been in a dinner for a while and I start analyzing you, yeah, like Nick, and I'm like, okay, I actually guessed his chart.
Yeah,
that was impressive.
Is that the first time you've done something like that?
I don't think it's the first time that I've guessed someone's like sign, like, okay, but it's the first time that I've guessed someone's like big three like that. That was pretty impressive.
That was pretty impressive. He was shocked, wasn't he?
Yeah. But I do want to add on to the astrology conversation. I feel like a lot of people have a really big misconception with people who are into astrology also, because I think it also gets such a bad rep when people are like, oh, I don't like you because you're this. I don't like that person.
You said that about the Pisces like 5
I know.
minutes ago.
I that's why I'm coming back to it. Okay. That's exactly what thank you. because it's really stupid. It really is stupid. Like you have to read someone's entire chart and like understand the inner workings of it to be like, okay, maybe I don't like this about that person because, you know, this energy brings this combined with this, and you know, so that's a reason. Or the person's just mean to you and you don't like them. Like I don't think the reason for someone's sign is a reason to hate somebody. But some people are like that, and they give astrology like people bad rep. So
yeah, I've heard. I mean, I didn't know much about it before meeting you. I did know from Dad. Dad somehow just, you've seen Dad. He just pulls out like all these, like he knows all the signs
yeah,
so well. I don't know how. As in, it's like he knows very like the the bare minimum. But I think it's funny how every time he'll meet someone, he will call them out by their. He'll ask them like, "Oh, what's your sign?" Is, "Oh yeah, I see that," and then he'll like tell them more about it. It's funny, you
yeah,
know. It's funny that now you know even deeper. Remember last year you read his chart to him
yeah. I
and
did
everything.
read
But
his chart.
what do you like the most? What's your favorite part about being so into astrology?
Honestly, I think it's really beautiful to just see connections happen, or like why somebody loves the way that they do, or why somebody likes what they like. Like you can literally see everything in a chart, everything. Um, I think it's super special. Or like if you're in a relationship with someone and you want to see how that person wants to be loved or does love, you can literally see it in like there's, you know, specific whatever you need to look up to figure that out. And I don't know. I think it's beautiful. I think it's so cool to make the connections every single day and to recognize like similar traits in somebody. Like, oh, I have a friend that likes this or does this, and they're very similar to this person. How do they connect astrologically? And I'll like go down their charts and I'll figure out what is it about these two people that are so similar that makes them who they are. You know what I mean? Like I do it. Carolina, for example, and my younger sister, Koa, they have almost identical charts in many different ways. Obviously, different years, different everything, but like the basis of their chart is like practically the same, and they are so similar. Like I will just be talking to them, and they're like the two people in this world that I can laugh the most with. And I'm like, and then I like study their charts, and I'm like, okay, this makes so much sense because of this aspect to this, and da da da. Like it's cool to see.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. And like you said, I mean, I wasn't a skeptic before, but I just didn't know much about it. And now seeing, which is so cool. At the end of the day, it's you always have so much to learn from other people and their curiosities. And I love that because you definitely introduced me and practically the entire family into it. I thought I had pressed the cable, touched the cable. What was I going to ask you as well? I was going to say something about this topic that I find so interesting. Is, do you find that when you look back, let's say we were talking about last week how certain events take place in people's lives, and then you are able to read the astrology of that week, and how you were saying so many things about it that explain then the behaviors and the outcomes of why things happened. Do you feel like it's just a confirmation bias at times, or some kind of, you know, you find the answer, or you see, because you're filtering it through your lens of the world and what happened, you hear it, infer it into your own world, so everybody's going to find something that makes sense to them. Am I making sense?
Yeah. It's a question I get often.
Yeah, and
that's a big
what's
question
your
with
answer?
astrology is like, isn't it just confirmation bias? And if that's the way that you want to look at it, or someone wants to look at it, go ahead. Like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and like try to change someone's mind about what they perceive astrology to be or whatever. But I think I don't know if it's a confirmation bias necessarily, but I think it does kind of make you feel like, oh, this past week has been really, really hard for me. Really hard. And you go and you look at the astrology of that said week that you were just in, and you see that, you know, Pluto is wreaking havoc, Neptune is wreaking havoc, all these things are happening in the sky. And then you read like the transit chart for it, and you can see like maybe how that was influencing, and then you plug that into your chart. So you plug those transits or that date into your birth chart or your current progress chart, and you could see exactly how it's hitting you. So you can literally read like, okay, maybe the reason why I didn't have such a good week at work this week and I got in a fight with my boss and blah, blah, blah. You could see it all happen in your chart. So I don't think it's a confirmation bias, but it does confirm things
It's
for
more of
you,
an
I guess. Like,
explanation, I guess.
yeah, it's like it's further explanation maybe as to why, like, you know, I don't know. I don't know.
No, it's so interesting because then the follow-up question is, do you think it takes people away from accountability? Do you see what I'm saying? Because if there's like a higher power or a not even higher, like this study and this science behind this, and it's gonna happen anyway, then you just not have a choice. Like it's just gonna, you know, like do you see what I'm saying? I know maybe it's getting a little bit too
Yeah, I
whimsical.
like, as in like fate, like
Maybe
like things are
honestly,
fated.
it's so like you said, woo woo was the word you used, because it's so like that. It's almost hard to grasp and understand, and that's the whole point of it. We don't have to, like, a lot of the reasons, like staying with spirituality, and this is the crossover here that exists between astrology and spirituality, is it doesn't fit in our mental understanding. It just doesn't. Like it does to an extent, and you, like people like you who've really dissected, studied, and really made it their life's almost work, that you understand it and you found a way to understand it without understanding it. I don't know if I'm making sense. What I'm trying to say is there's so much stuff that when we talk about thoughts, I'm thinking now I'm standing now from my corner of the world. I read a lot about thoughts, about, presence, understanding, consciousness, etc. It's so many people don't get it because it's ungettable. And that's the way I feel about astrology too. I don't know if you see something similar there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is. Like, it's very hard to grasp. That's why, like, you either get it or you don't.
Yeah, it's
like
abstract,
type of thing.
right?
Yeah, it's like you get it or you don't get it, and it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. And I don't think I'm not here to judge anybody for not understanding it or for understanding it. It is what it is. And people have like their preconceived type of thoughts towards things or biases because, of their previous experiences, and I can't change that about anything. But I try to be as open as possible, Like, I think if you're just a little bit open, you don't have to believe in anything. Like, you like I've talked about astrology since I met you, and you've not like been super interested in it, but you'll sit there and you'll listen to me and you'll be like, wow, that's interesting. And that's yeah, like, you're interested to an extent, but you don't go further than that.
And research it myself.
Yeah, no, like, you've not been to the point where you're like, oh, I want to start reading charts and seeing this stuff, because you have somebody that already does it for
who
you.
does it for me. I feel like you should tell me more in terms of like what I'd like to request from you, if I may.
Okay.
May I?
Yeah.
I'd like to place a request that you start telling me dates of when would be best for me to release things, like giveaways, or do workshops, whatever, like whatever I have.
That's my next goal. Like, also, I'm not like a genius astrologer. Like, I'm very I'm very
be intentional with your language.
I know I understand a lot of it, but there's a lot. It's also a practice and a subject that you can never stop learning. Literally,
How cool is that?
It's like infinite. Like,
some would say it's a mountain without a top.
it's like insane. Like, literally, you could go in every single day. You could be the world's top astrologer, and every single day you're learning something new because there's just so much info, and it gets so intricate and it gets so crazy. I'm nowhere near that type of, expertise level. I hope to get there one day, but like, that's my next goal, is to start doing transit works like that. So I could read your transits. I could tell you, okay, it's this day is looking like this energy, so you should do this. Like, every famous, like, not every, but there's a good amount of famous people who will release stuff on days where it's good for them, astrologically speaking. Like, SZA works with astrologers, Ariana Grande works with astrologers, U.S. President Ronald Reagan, his wife was really big into astrology, and so he used it for, decisions and whatnot. Cool. Yeah, and like, even there's like a quote from like some really, I'm gonna totally butcher it, and I'm not even gonna say his name because I off the top of my head I can't. But there is a really, really famous, I think he's an oil or a steel guy, like one of the like top billionaires of the entire world. He makes a quote about like millionaires don't use, or like millionaire something to do. Oh my god,
Try
chopping this shit up. Something along the lines of millionaires don't use astrologers, billionaires do.
Nice.
So, this guy, I don't even know who it was. It's like on the tip of my tongue. Maybe we could plug it here, like say it or something. I don't know. But yeah, he's like crazy billionaire, and he used an astrologer as well. So you take it for what it is. You could take it at face value and just see that and be like, okay, maybe. But if you don't believe in it, then, whatever.
So what are the chances you're becoming my official astrologer now, transit-wise and everything?
Yeah, I want to start studying more.
And
I want to start. I know I can. I could help a lot of people.
Yeah,
I'd love to help your dad also.
Yeah.
I think that would be so
I've been
cool.
definitely trying to push you, as in many, I'm saying this to viewers, not to you, but I've been trying to push you to be able to start getting yourself more out there, to share with more people, because I believe it's like you said, it's a definite talent, especially that it's also been proven that a lot of, like you said, billionaires are using astrologers to guide them and help them in decision making and with tasks and projects and when to do, so on and so forth. So I definitely think it's not, I don't even think, I believe it's going to be something that you're definitely going to get more into. I mean, you've already gotten requests of people that you have barely met and some that you've not met at all,
Yeah.
who've asked you to read their charts and stuff. And so it's cool that like slowly, I think it'll be a very, very cool thing for you to start and for me to reap some benefits of it too, whenever you start telling me more about, oh, you should really do your workshop that day, or you should really, like, whenever I write my first book, you'd be like, oh, you should release it then.
Yeah.
It's going to be so cool, but time's ticking, darling. So I
I
need you to
know.
start getting into the transit so that I can start planning.
I
So
know.
we can start planning.
I
Good.
will.
But it's such an interesting topic, and I definitely think we need to devote a whole podcast episode to really dive deep into astrology, Vedic astrology, and
Oh, thank you for mentioning. Yeah, I'm also getting super into Vedic astrology, and that's like a whole other beast in its own. Like,
even more abstract.
oh my God,
Right.
like incredible, but so special. Like
Mhm.
such a cool practice and so intricate,
Mm-hmm.
and it's beautiful. Like I really love
love that.
Vedic astrology.
And I love how much I'm getting into it. And the more I speak to you about it, especially now in this past half hour I've been talking about it, I already see even more connections with things I'm into and spirituality, like I said, mindset, lifestyle, everything than I did before, or that I did an hour ago,
Yeah.
which is really cool. So I think we should definitely, or not, I keep saying I think, I know we need to devote a whole episode to really dive deep into astrology. We'll just talk about astrology. And if you want, we can, I mean, you're not going anywhere. So we'll
Let's
we'll
do
make
it.
it happen, and we'll plan another episode in season 2 where we'll
Let's do
bring
it.
you back and we'll get you to do a whole episode and you really dive deep into the topics. You tell us everything that we want to know, and we can start collecting some questions. We'll go asking around. I'll do some market research for you. I'll ask the biggest skeptics that I know about stuff, and you can dispel their myths. How about that? I can already see the title and everything. Dispelling Astrology Myths 101 with astrologer Hannah Sanchez.
Okay, let's do it.
Sounds great, no?
Yeah.
But anyway, we're wrapping up on the hour now, and I don't want to make it too long for the first intro episode of season 2, but I do want to leave you with 2 last questions before we close off. One of them is, we're completely switching gears here.
Okay.
So I just want to know what you're expecting, or what would you like to see different in season 2 for the DDC podcast?
Ooh.
Because season 1 was, I'll give you a little recap, was very music oriented.
Yeah.
I was still talking a lot about social psychology, social dynamics. Now I was much more into the communication and social sphere of things.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know exactly where I am 2 months later since I ended the podcast of season 1. Now we're finally getting back into it. What would you like to see in terms of guests, insights, stories, vibes, locations?
Ooh. I do love this location though. It is really nice. But I do think, yes, for one, I think you should try like something fun, like how we had planned. Like I think that would be so cool. I want to hear more about the inner workings of the mind and what your take on it, and the way that you perceive. Maybe a guest that has to do with something psychology based. Like I think that would be super cool. But I also want to see like silly and fun.
Great.
You know me.
Yeah, I know.
I love silly and fun.
Yeah.
And to have like, I think you should do mixed guests, like more serious and then more fun. Like
I was going to
half and
say,
half.
because I'm going to be traveling so much, I already have a few guests that I'm going to be meeting that I've met people from Twitter
Yeah.
that I'm probably going to be getting on I'm going to really hope that I make time because, I mean, look, we had Nick last week and I would have loved to have gotten him on the podcast.
Yeah.
He was here, for 4 hours and we spent the 4 hours just having dinner and talking,
Yeah,
which
it
was beautiful. But
yeah.
as in, now that I'm going to be traveling the next 2 months, I'm going to be going to locations where there's other people.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get Antoine on.
Yeah, I was just,
go to
you know what I
London.
was thinking? Silly and fun. I was like, Antoine.
Yeah, that's my college roommate. For those who are not familiar with,
Yeah.
you'll instantly love him.
Yeah, he would be a great guest.
Which is what I'm thinking of doing for the season. Is going to be a mix of, like you said, it'll
Half
be
serious, half like just funny and like so unserious.
Yeah.
Like I think that would be really cool.
for sure. Yeah, I'm so pumped. I really hope that I could even get Alex on when I go to London. I'm hoping to see him.
Yeah.
There's so many people. Then we'll see. Anyway, I know for sure for London now, Antoine and hopefully Alex. That would be two cool episodes.
Yeah.
And then from there we'll see. At some point we'll have to get Dad on as well. I don't know if season 2 will be the time yet, but
Yeah.
at some point it would be cool to get him.
He's
on.
both serious and unserious.
Yeah, he's gonna be a little. We'll see what he's feeling like that day.
Yeah.
Maybe you can be at the back telling us about his astrology, telling us how he's sensing. But anyway, you know the last question that I have, and I think we should definitely keep this question going for the rest of the.
I think so too.
For the rest of the history of the podcast, but I still, as much as it's not, the podcast isn't about music as much as it was when I had first started it back in like December, I still love music so much. And I'm trying to get back to DJing again. I took a good break from DJing for, I guess, the last set I did live was in Vegas.
Yeah, you did.
in Vegas. And at that party, it was so much fun. Actually, it was really fun.
It was fun.
That was what? That was May. So it's been June, July, August. It's been 3 months I haven't DJed or touched the DJ deck at all. So I'm thinking of I'm starting to get back into it, and I want to start filming myself and creating a whole different YouTube channel for my DJ sets. Because I was thinking the other day, I was like, I love listening to music and I love discovering. And so my latest newsletter that I wrote today that you'll read on Wednesday, it'll come out. And people here on the podcast will get audio letters for them, which is cool. I'm excited about that new edition for this new what would you call it? This new season era. Thank you.
Era
of the podcast is this audio letters. But I was talking in my newsletter how because I was thinking about why do I love sharing so much? You said this thing about me before, like I'm very firm in my beliefs and I love expressing stuff. It's because, and why do I love learning? I love learning so much and why do I read so much? Why do I listen to so much information? Because I love then sharing it. I can think about it. When I was younger, I always used to share so much about the TV shows, the movie. I mean, you didn't know me when I was younger, but all the people who are my friends, I would force people to sit with me to go watch this like I did with you with the YouTube videos, the jungle YouTube videos. Remember, I was like, Hannah, you have to experience this greatness like I did, right? Like, you have to. Or us, like watching The Office. I'm like, Hannah, you never watched The Office. You have to watch The Office. And I would sit you down. I would do this.
Speaking of, we should watch it. Right
tonight,
now. Yeah, with dinner.
See, you're already getting into it. But I feel like I was thinking about it today. That I was dissecting, introspecting in myself, and I was like, I've always had this in me that I would like. I rallied people to come watch like Gossip Girl finale with me, which didn't even I cared about Gossip Girl, but I rallied like 15 people to come watch it with me, or like I would do all these things with music and then Real Madrid games. Anyway, long story short is I love sharing experiences with people, which is why I think now I'm in this phase of my life of if I can help people get a more intentional and fulfilling life, I want to share that with them and experience that with them, right? So all this tangent to say that I was thinking that about music. Why did I want to get into DJing in the first place? Because I wanted to share the tunes, the incredible tunes that we find.
Yeah.
Hannah's a big part of my tune finding, right? So is Saad, give credit to him, and Jamie, but you're also up top there as one of the top collaborators. So it's cool. I think it'd be really cool for you to learn how to DJ one day, and I can teach you, and we DJ together. That'd be super cool. We'll do our own version of Crazy P.
Yeah,
that'd be so cool. But anyway, all this to say that I'm gonna start a YouTube channel for DJing under Dominic Dancourt, and that's gonna be cool to start showcasing music and getting back into the DJ scene. And now that we're here in Spain, start DJing in venues again and stuff. That because I know people here, so it'll be cool to start getting back into that.
I'm so excited.
But alas, all this tangent to get to my favorite question of the evening. What is one current song that's going up currently in your life that you would love to share with people, that you'd love to experience with people right now, this very moment, as it will be the outro of the first episode of the
You
second
see
season
you see
of the
the
Dom's Dance Court podcast. What
sorry.
do I see?
You see the terror in my eyes? Like I'm like I don't know what to say.
Oh.
I'm like
So
thinking
you
of
see
the
the tear in
songs.
my eyes.
No, the terror.
Okay.
This
too
is
many
always this
options.
such the pressing question. A song that I have been listening to recently and I've really been loving a lot. And I think it's such a beautiful song and I love the way that it builds and I think that the lyrics are really sweet.
Okay, so now we're listening to
Her by Rory.
Her by Rory. Han, thank you so much for being here. It's so good to have you on the podcast. And to many more,
To many more. I'll be back.
she'll be back. Much love, everybody.
Bye.